Okay. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining today's session. So um, we've now reached our third unit for our level 5 qualification. So what we've covered so far in our previous tutorial, we've now looked into understand innovative development in technologies. So we define what are these emerging technologies and how we benefit from the use of them. We also analyzed the range of innovative technologies, and we made personal recommendation to address particular scenarios. Then also we looked into understanding the impact of this technological innovation in the computer industry. So we looked into explaining the impact and how systems are changing by implementing these technologies. We described ethical issues relating to these technological innovations. And then we looked into our merit and distinction task, where again we had to make recommendation, and also we had to have a reflection on these ethical issues. So in today's session, we're now going to understand the impact of technological innovation into our society. So how are these emerging technology changing the world? Are they changing it in making it into a better place, or is it making it worse? So today we'll look into our 3 learning outcomes, and we'll also cover our merit and distinction unit. So what we'll focus on today, we're now going to look into the pros and cons of adopting technological innovation. We'll look into increased dependency on large data centers, increased data storage requirement. We'll look into increase of wireless network, increase of security concern. We'll also look into pros for businesses and staffs. We'll look into how this makes much faster decision making, better productivity, better access to learning, and so on. So we'll look into many aspects for this learning outcomes. So let's just get into our presentation. So what are we aiming for today's session? So from our experience and learning, we've now seen how technology innovation has shaped almost every aspect of modern society, whether it's how we communicate, work, travel, or learn technology, which has had a profound effect on the way people are living and interacting with each other. So as we can see, while many of these changes are positive, we have to take in consideration that there are also changes and unintended consequences. So in this section, we're now going to reflect on both benefit and downside of innovation from a social point of view. So how did this emerging technology improve our communication and social interaction? So we know that we've had a massive boom of AI and all these chatbots and so on. So we can see that there are a lot of positive impact from it. We can see how we can now connect instantly with friends, family, and colleagues anywhere around the world. So we have various platforms that allows us to have virtual meetings such as Zoom, Teams, and so on. And also social media made it more easier for us to connect with people around the world. What are the negative impact of this? So people now tend to not meet up and see each other face to face. So people are more isolated, and there's also a information spread quickly. So we know that people can now have videos AI generated, and we can tell what is real and what is fake. Then we have social media addiction and cyberbullying, which are a serious matter when it comes to teenagers. So we have to look into how much more data we can access when it comes to general information or even into the education sector. So what the positive impact for this is that we've now have personally used platform. We can now use platforms like YouTube, Udemy, Coursera, and Google Scholar to learn outside our classroom, which is a very huge advantage nowadays. And we can, so students also can remotely, they can study remotely, and they can access learning materials from cities around the world. Teachers and trainers can now deliver lessons virtually, increasing the flexibility and accessibility. While the downside for this is that not everyone has equal access to technology. Also, we have over reliance on technology, which can reduce critical thinking. So people again more lazy nowadays, and they rely a lot on technologies to do the work for them. Then also we have screen fatigue, which reduces the concentration level and is becoming more often. Also, technology, the way we use these innovative technologies has changed the way employment and workplace are working so far. So we now know that technology has completely transformed modern workplaces. So we have a lot of automation, remote work too, and AI, which have changed how jobs are done. So what are the positive impact for this is that we've now noticed that we have more flexible working. People can work remotely, and has now become more of a thing in 2025. Also, businesses can operate 24/7 across regional and global market. There are new job opportunity which are emerging. So depending on sectors, there is always opening job vacancies where people can just apply and get into it. What are the negative impact for this? So we now know that AI and automation can now replace many traditional roles, and this is what has been happening recently. So workers who lack digital skills can be left behind. Then there is also job insecurity and constant change, which can lead to anxiety and burnout. Health and well-being. So what are the positive impact when it comes to our health? We now know that with smartwatches, they can now do a lot of functionality. They can track our heart rate, sleep, exercises, and they can help us more with being more aware of our overall health. So we have also telemedicine, which allows patients to consult doctors from home, and also AI helps to speed research into treatment and vaccines. What are the negative impact for this? Is that we can now access to health. So we now know that access to health tech isn't equal. So some people can afford it, while others can't. So we have too much screen time and sedentary behavior, which can negatively impact our overall well-being between physically and mentally. Then also we have data privacy, which is a concern when people have stored their own health information. Also, we now need to look into environmental and sustainability. So what are the positive impact for this? Is that you've now seen companies which switch to cloud services to reduce paper usage and energy waste. We also now have smart houses and devices which can help to cut electricity bills and improve efficiency. And then we have technology supports climate monitoring and environmental protection efforts. What the negative impact? We now know that the production of these tech devices will now contribute to pollution and e-wasting. And also we have energy hungry data center and mining, which is for materials like lithium, steel, that can still harm the planet. Also, we have fast-paced innovation encourages. So we know that fast-paced innovation encourage throwaway culture with constant upgrade and replacement. So to summarize this brief introduction, we can say that the key is balance. So we need to know that when using technology, we need to be very wise and aware of each risk, and we have to be making sure that everyone benefit from progress, not just few who can afford it. So now we're going to describe the impact of innovation in technology on society. So what we're going to look at, we now know that from our perspective, technology, technological innovation has had a major impact on society, changing how we live, work, learn, and communicate. So we know that the pace of changing over the last 2 decades has been extremely rapid, and there's been a while of benefit which are very clear to us, but there's been also a lot of challenges that comes with it. So now, based on what we've now experienced and learned, we will now look into some of the key way technology has influenced our society. When it comes to communication and social interaction, we now know that technology has completely transformed how we interact with each other. We know this happens a lot through social media platforms, messaging apps, voice calls apps, which allows us to stay in touch with family, friends, and colleagues around the world. So we know that our positive impact for this is easier global communication with faster sharing of ideas and strong online communities. And the negative side of it is that in some cases, real world interaction has now decreased, and people can feel more isolated, and they feel more isolated, like despite being constantly connected with each other. So when it comes to education and learning, we now know that the use of technology for learning can be done through online courses, YouTube tutorials, and also virtual classrooms. Education is no longer limited to physical classroom as it used to be in the past. So we know now that the positive impact for this is that we have a greater access to education, flexibility in how and when we want to connect and learn. And the negative impact for this is that not everyone has equal access to devices or a fast internet connectivity. So when it comes to employment and workplaces, we know that the workplace has changed drastically due to innovation like cloud computing, video conferencing, and automation. So we're now seeing how people are working remotely using AI tools to make work faster, more efficient. So the positive impact for this is that we now have flexible working, better productivity, and the creation of new digital careers. The negative impact of some traditional jobs are now disappearing due to automation, and people without digital skills are very much at risk of being left behind. When it comes to health and well-being, we know that technology in health has improved how illnesses are diagnosed and treated. So devices like fitness trackers helps us keep track of our steps, sleep, and heart rate. So we know that the positive impact are a better patient care, quicker access to health advice through telehealth, and more awareness of personal being. Negative impact is that we have overuse of screen and technology, which can affect our mental and physical health, especially in younger people. when it comes to lifestyle and daily life, um, we know now that um, simple tasks like shopping, banking, or booking for holidays have become much more convenient. So we can now place orders, um, transfer money, or book appointment just by using our phones. What are the positive impact for this? This now saves time, improves convenience, and increases access to service. Negative impact for this is that we have less face-to-face interactions, and some people also struggle to keep up with constant changes in digital tools. So, as we now know that the key in learning is how to use uh, technology in a balanced and responsible way so that helps society move forward without leaving people behind. So we're now going to explain ethical issues relating to the use of technological innovation in our society. So what are these ethical issues? We know now that our society has become more reliant on technology. So we've now noticed that not just dealing with technology process, we're also facing with ethical questions about how this technology has been used so far. So, so as we know how we also reflect on the fact that we know that if something is possible, doesn't mean that it's always right. So in this section, we're now going to explain some of the key ethical issues that we believe society need to deal with. So let's look into when we look into privacy and data collection. Um, one of the biggest ethical concern is how personal data is collected, stored, and used. So every time we use a smartphone, we visit a website or we buy something online, um, we know that we now live in a digital footprint. So companies and government can now track our data, often without the full understanding of it. So the ethical issue that is related to this is that we now know that people should have control over their own data and be able to decide who can access it or not. What are the risks related to this is that if our data is misused, it can lead to identified threat, manipulation, or discrimination. Bias, AI, and artificial intelligence, we know that with AI systems, these are now used to make a decision in area like recruitment, credit score, and even policy. But these systems learn from data, and if the data includes bias, the AI will now reflect it. So, what are the ethical issues to this? AI should be fair and transparent, so everyone deserves equal treatment regardless of background. So, examples: if AI is used for hiring, this will now favor male candidates because of the data it learned from um, his bias. This also creates an unfair system, even though um, um, the human meant not to discriminate. When it comes to digital devices and accessibility, we know now that while many people um, benefit from new technology, others are now left behind. So we've also seen how some people, especially older adults or low income families, struggles to access devices, internet, or digital skills training. So the ethical issues to this is that innovation should be inclusive. Society has a responsibility to make sure technology helps everyone, not just those who can afford it. So what the impact of this is that if the digital devices continue to grow, it can worsen inequality in education, employment, and healthcare. When it comes to surveillance and tracking, we now know that government and companies now have tools that can monitor our behavior from CCTV with facial recognition um, to apps that tracks our location. So the ethical issues with this is that where is the line between safety and invasion of privacy? People should know when they've been watched and why. So example for this is that surveillance might help prevent crime, but can also be misused to control or our unfairly target certain groups. So when it comes to um, job displacement through automation, we now know that automation and AI are replacing many jobs in sectors like retail, manufacturing, and customer service. While this um, improves efficiency, it also creates social problem. So the ethical issue is that is this right for companies to replace workers without offering support or retraining? What the concern? People should not be treated or um, disposable just because machine can do the jobs more cheaply. So to conclude, we now know that technology should always be used with ethics in mind. Innovation, we now know this is powerful, but it must be guided by values like fairness, transparency, respect, and inclusion. As a society, we need to ask not just can we do this, but should we? And what are the consequences? So we now need to know that the goal should be to to use technology to improve lives without creating harm or leaving anyone behind. So now we're going to describe the impact of legislation or technological innovation in society. So as someone's um, learning about technology and its role, this is used in everyday's life. So we've now come to understand that the laws and regulation have a big impact on how technological innovation happens in society. So we now know that legislation plays two roles in which helps to protect people from misuse of technology, and it also creates boundaries that developers and companies must work within. So while this can sometimes slow innovation down, we believe that it's necessary to make sure new technologies are used responsibly. Um, when it comes to data protection and privacy, we now know that general data protection regulation is one of the most important laws affecting technology today. So we now know that it was introduced to give people more control over their personal data and how this is being collected and used. So the impact on innovation is that companies have now to be more transparent and careful when building new apps, websites, or platforms. Features like privacy settings, consent form, and data access requests now have to be built into systems um, from the start. Um, so the benefit for this is that as a user, this will now feel more protected. We feel now more protected knowing that our data can be collected or sold without our permission. And also, this forces company to act more ethically. So we're now looking into cybersecurity law and computer misuse act. So cybercrime is a growing threat, and laws like the Computer Misuse Act were put in place to prevent unauthorized access, hacking, and malware attacks. So, what the impact on innovation is that tech developers and IT professionals must build secure systems and follow strict rules to protect data and networks. So, this has led to more innovation in cybersecurity tools and ethical hacking practice. So we now know that the benefit for this is that this law can make the internet safer for everyone. Without them, um, it will be easy for criminals to target people or businesses online. When it comes to intellectual property and copyright law, now know that copyright law protects the right of creators, inventors, and developers by making sure they won't, they can't be copied or stolen. So, impact on innovation is that that these laws encourage people to come up with new ideas, um, because they know they'll be recognized and rewarded for that. But however, they can also limit collaboration and access to certain software or content unless there are proper licenses which have been bought. So the benefit for this is that copyrighted law supports creative and fairness, helping society grow through innovation while respecting ownership. So when it comes to accessibility and inclusion legislation, in the UK, the Equality Act 2010 requires that digital services, websites, and apps to be accessible to people with disabilities. So what are the impact on innovation? We now know that developers now can build features like screen readers compatibility, voice commands, and adjustable fonts. This leads to better and more inclusive design. So what the benefit for this is that more people feel are now feeling included um, with this visual, hearing, or motor impairment, and this can use technology independently, which now also promotes equality. When it comes to regulation of emerging technologies, now know that the government are now creating new rules to regulate advanced advanced technologies like AI and biometrics. So what are the impact on innovation? Now know that developers must make sure AI systems are fair, unbiased, and explainable. So we now know that this might slow down some project, but it ensures the technology doesn't harm people. The benefit for this, we now know that these laws protect against discrimination and ensures people are judged or monitored unfairly by machines. So in our view, legislation doesn't stop innovation, it shapes it. It forces developers, companies, and even government to think about the ethical, legal, and social effect of what they created. So now we've now come to one merit um, activity. We're now going to analyze innovative technologies and unconnected devices in a range of scenarios and recommend ethical courses of action. So, as someone studying the impact of technology on society, we've now explored how innovative tools and connected devices such as AI, IoT, and facial recognition have been used across different industries. So, while these technologies brings clear advantages, they also raise ethical issues around privacy, fairness, and responsibilities. So now we're going to analyze three real-world scenarios and recommend ethical actions to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly. So our scenario number one, which is smart home devices connecting to personal data. So we know technology involved, such as IoT, smart speakers, security cameras, and thermostat. So what our analysis says is that our smart home devices are designed to make life more convenient by automating tasks and responding to voice commands. However, they often collect sensitive data such as voice recognition, voice recording, um, behavioral patterns, and location history. So some companies use this data for making or sell it to third parties without users being fully aware. What the ethical issues? You have a lack of information consent and transparency, potential misuse or hacking of private household data. So the recommended ethical course of action would now be that devices manufacturers should they implement clear privacy settings and give users full control over what data is collected and how it's used. Um, Default settings should prioritize privacy, not data collection. Regular software update and security patches must be provided to protect users from cyber threats. And as users, we believe that people should be educated on how to review permission and manage privacy settings efficiently. So scenario number two, we have AI in recruitment softwares. So we now know that technology involved is artificial intelligence, machine learning, which is used to shortlist job applications. So some companies are now using AI tools to scan CVs and rank candidates. So while this saves time, the algorithm often reflect hidden bias based on the data they've been trained on. So for example, if past hiring data favors certain age group or gender, the AI might unfairly exclude other candidates. What are the ethical issues for this? We now know that we have mis, mis we now know that we have discrimination and lack of fairness in hiring, and we have no accountability for automated decision. So what are going to be the recommendation on ethical course of action? Now know that employers should carry out bias testing and auditing on recruitment AI system regularly. So we now know that AI should not be decision maker, and human judgment must still be used in the final section. Also, candidates should be informed that AI tools is part of the process and given the chances to appeal or request a human review. So the data used to train the system must be diverse and representative of all applications, of all applicants. Scenario number three, we have facial recognition in public space. So we know now that the technology involved there are biometric identification and facial recognition systems, which are used in transport hub, city surveillance, and retail. So analysis for this is that facial recognition is being used to detect criminal activity or identify shoplifters. So while this can improve society, it also means constant monitoring of public without consent. So this risk that innocent people might be misidentified, and certain communities should be unfairly targeted. So what are the ethical issues here? Invasion of privacy and potential misuse by authorities, lack of transparency in how data is stored and shared. So the recommended ethical courses of actions is use facial recognition only when there is a clear justified public safety need, and never for general surveillance. introduced strict legal frameworks around how facial data is collected, stored, and shared. Individuals must be informed when they have been scanned, and given the right to opt out where possible. Oversight by independent watchdogs should be introduced to prevent abuse. So to conclude, we now know that innovation and connected devices are powerful tools, but the use must be guided by strong ethical principles. So our analysis shows that in each case, the ethical path involves transparency, fairness, user control, and accountability. So our distinction task, we now know that um, evaluate the impact on society of a chosen scenario. So we're now looking into AI in recruitment. So for this task, we've chosen to evaluate the use of AI in recruitment, where employers use automated system to screen CVs, shortlist candidate, and even analyze facial expression during video interviews. So this technology we now know has been adopted across many industries to save time and reduce the cost of hiring. So while um, innovation sounds efficient on paper, its impact on society is more complex and bringing a mix of benefit, risk, and ethical challenges. So, what are the positive impact on our society? We now know that we have more efficient and cost reduction. So, one clear benefit is that the improved efficiency in recruitment process. So, we have AI which can scan hundreds of application in minutes, reducing the time in which it takes to fill vacancies. So when it comes to our social impact, we know that we have much more faster hiring benefit employees and job seekers alike. So this helps businesses to keep running and help individuals find employment more quickly. So we also have consistency in evaluation. So unlike human recruitment, AI system doesn't get tired or emotional. If programmed correctly, they apply the same criteria to every applicant. So what are the benefits of this? Is that AI can reduce human bias caused by mood, appearance, or personal assumption. So what are the opportunities for tech growth? So the rise of AI in HR has created new jobs, data science, software development, and algorithms auditing. So we now have a wider impact where this boosts the tech sector and encourages innovation in how people are hired and managed. What are the negative impact and risks for this? Algorithm bias and discrimination. So the biggest issue we see is that AI can now reinforce existing bias instead of removing it. If the data is used to train the system, if the data used to train the system is biased, that will now carry on with the bias decision forward. So this has also an impact on society, where marginalized groups might be excluded from opportunities without even realizing why. This also increases inequality and damages trust in technology. Also, another negative impact is that we have a lack of transparency and accountability. So many candidates don't even know how AI is being used to access them. So even worse, if they're rejected. So there's often no explanation or appeal process. So we have ethical concern. People have a right to understand how decisions affect their lives, which are made. Then we have loss of human touch. Recruitment is not just about qualification, it's about communication, passion, and personality. So AI might struggle to evaluate these soft qualities. So what are the social impact? Now know that if AI dominates recruitment, we risk on creating workplaces where only data perfect people get through, excluding those with potential who might not match the pattern. So our overall evaluation is that for society, the long-term impact depends entirely on how these technologies regulated and used. So if companies are on government work together to set clear standards like explaining how decisions are made, testing for bias, and ensuring humans are still involved, then AI can be a force for good. So, final thoughts. Now know that the impact of AI on society shouldn't be judged by how efficient it is, but by how fair, transparent, and human is it, and how human it remains. So that's the standard we should all hold into. So this was everything for this session. Is there any question for me?
Thanks, Victor. No, that was all pretty clear. Thank you, clear, interesting. Yeah, no, ready to go on to the next part.
Okay. Okay then. If there's no more question, then I'll end this session and start our assignment discussion.
Do you want to go into the other meeting, or are we doing it within this one?
No, let's get into the other meeting. So
Go into the other meeting, yeah.
we'll
All
have
right,
another recording for that. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, I'll see you in there.
Okay. Thank you so much.